Take a careful look around, and you can often find stick and tree structures, even close to town. Structures that are obviously intentionally assembled, not naturally occurring, and also that do not seem to be the sort of formations our own species tends to build. There's only one way to find out for sure. Place your audio recorder here at a structure, and then listen to night after night. You should eventually hear them returning to this spot where they have set up their telltale signs. It may be single, subtle wood knocks. It may be a run of more vigorous, emphatic percussion. Or, less commonly, you'll hear one of a variety of vocalizations. Less than a mile from where I recorded that howl, you know, it's funny how some people seem to have a deep antipathy toward the term research or researcher. They think that anyone who calls themselves a Sasquatch researcher must be full of themselves, sort of self-congratulatory, applying that term to their work. But really the way I think of research is just investigating something. Here's a dictionary definition. Someone who studies a subject, especially in order to discover new information or to reach a new understanding. Some people really love to downplay the importance of structures and locating them in nearby forests. This one, for instance, could of course been made by people. So it's either people or Sasquatch. You'll give me that, won't you? And sure, a lot of force was exerted here, and this tree is pretty thick for snow load or ice load to have done this. And although it does look tucked in purposefully down here at a steep angle, it could still be natural, but you just file it away until you find something that is more definitive. If in the same little forest you find something like two separate trees standing right next to each other, not growing there, leaning up into the crook of this tree, and then you find numerous branches that have been shoved in, broken off, and shoved in to the same crook of this same tree, and then more up there, broken off, shoved in. This whole weaving situation is about 15 feet up, so that you'd need a ladder if you were a person pulling this off, with no expectation that anyone was ever going to see it or wonder who made it. So here's more sticking out there. Then you have to believe that actual Sasquatch hands touched those, and an actual Sasquatch mind or group decided this would be a good construction to put together. Well, I don't care what anyone says, it's still a thrill every time. And then it's time to take the all-important step 2 in your researching of this small forest, and that's to deploy audio recorders. Even though step 1 can be its own thrill, In terms of verification and documentation and filling in the picture of your local Sasquatch roots and range and habits, step one is pretty negligible compared to step two, in which we find out that those who planted their territorial flags in this forest are going to eventually, perhaps quite soon, cycle back through. That's what they do. Who cares about measly stick and tree structures? Well, apparently not those who feel they are above and beyond such granular field research on the ground. And who cares about finding tracks, Sasquatch tracks? I mean, ornithologists don't care anything about bird tracks. They study the creatures themselves. Well, birds are a whole lot more available for direct research than are our kindred friends. So we're stuck with indirect evidence, and we need to make the most of it that we possibly can. Those of us, hundreds of us, thousands of us, who care about field research. This research is key to finally putting the puzzle together, and it can actually lead to breakthroughs, such as that we've experienced the last few years. We're locating structures and then capturing audio have led us to discover that this species is a whole lot more widely distributed and operates much, much closer to our civilization than mainstream Sasquatch research had ever considered possible before. There are many other pieces to the puzzle that others can handle, such as collecting organic samples and sequencing the DNA, as Melba Ketchum has done, and now others are jumping on that bandwagon, such as collecting ever more eyewitness testimony to add to the tens of thousands of accounts that we already have. Many around North America and the world are interacting, conversing with our kindred species through objects. The best example of this that I know in our own country is Snow White Bigfoot out of Ohio. She has chronicled more than 3 years of this back and forth communication with her local group and has documented it scrupulously in over 100 hours of My Bigfoot Diary that you can find on our YouTube channel. Another piece of the puzzle, very important, is comparing Sasquatch behavior over great distances. For example, in their vocalizations. That yell ends with what I'm 99% sure is a wood knock. Let's take a listen to it. Next comes the absolute clincher. You hear that? Ooh-ah! The best Sasquatch vocalization analyst that we have, Monongahela, has taught us that the ooh-ah phoneme shift cannot be produced by a canid, a dog, a wolf, or coyote. That is characteristic of Sasquatch vocalizations.
Researchers. You know, it's so funny. You know, it's so funny. The majority of the very, very intelligent people I know who have a shit pile of knowledge on this topic, almost every single one of them says, I'm not a researcher and I'm not a member of any research group. Now, why do you think that is? Why do you think the majority of the intelligent people out there who are interested in this topic, one of the first things they say is, I'm not a Sasquatch researcher? Why do you think that is? They're getting nowhere, all right? I'm actually helping you people, believe it or not. I'm like the coach that's shitting on the shitty player. That's the position I'm in right now, all right? Running around the forest with a video camera, videotaping and obsessing and staring at tree twists, tree breaks, structures and footprints non-stop for years. They're filming these tree structures and gifting and pebbles and shit, and they're doing it non-stop. That's all they're doing. They're doing it non-stop.
This is a possibility. It's right behind my mother's house.